28,800 years. This is the reign duration of the first king, Alulim, recorded on the Sumerian king list. The second king, Alalgar, ruled for 36,000 years. The total reign time of the 8 pre-flood monarchs reaches a staggering 241,200 years. You might think these numbers are just ancient myths, but you're wrong. This tablet is the most formal official historical archive of the Sumerians, solemnly recorded in standard cuneiform script, just like our modern government gazettes. What's even more shocking is that when archaeologists compare it with other historical documents, the records after the Great Flood are completely normal. The hero king Gilgamesh ruled for 126 years, and other kings for decades to over 100 years. Why does the same document show such a massive disparity in time spans? Why did human lifespans undergo a cliff-like change before and after the flood? What historical truth hides behind these spine-chilling numbers? Today, we'll trace this eerie string of digits that rewrites human historical cognition. The time code left by Sumerian civilization. Is it ancient myth or an erased history of interstellar contact? Those astronomical reign lengths aren't the only enigma of Sumerian civilization. More perplexing evidence is inscribed on thousands of clay tablets and stone reliefs scattered in the southern Iraqi desert, quietly waiting for millennia. Recently, while occasionally editing videos of these desert sites, my phone suddenly stuttered and lagged. Overheating after just a short clip, I was thinking of getting a new phone. But the latest models aren't great value for money. A friend recommended buying secondhand, and I discovered that on the Zhuanzhuan secondhand platform, a used iPhone 14 is just over 2,300 yuan. Over 2,000 yuan cheaper than the new iPhone 16. The key is that the new model's upgrades aren't significant. Buying secondhand at half price is the real deal. Plus, Zhuanzhuan is a well-known major secondhand platform. The phones go through multiple rounds of standardized, strict quality inspections, making them more reliable than regular second-hand ones. The laptops there are great too. For reliable second-hand buys, I only recommend Zhuanzhuan. In the mid-19th century, when Austin Henry Layard and other archaeologists first excavated these lost ruins, they thought they were just hunting for grand sculptures of the Assyrian Empire for the British Museum. They unearthed palaces, laws, and humanity's earliest epics. But amid these magnificent discoveries were some mysterious images that puzzled and even unnerved them, closely tied to the name Anunnaki. In the Sumerian mythological system, the Anunnaki are descendants of the supreme god An, the supreme divine group that decides the fates of humans and gods. Theoretically, this isn't strange. Every ancient civilization has its pantheon. But oddly, the way the Sumerians depicted them, from reliefs unearthed at sites like Nimrud and Ur, shows these figures, called winged genies by modern Assyriologists, with wings representing superhuman power. But a closer look at their gear reveals astonishing details. On their heads, not simple crowns, but helmets with complex patterns, flat tops, and horn-like decorations on the sides, their neat enveloping shape evokes some functional protective gear. Even more baffling are the items in their hands. In nearly all related reliefs, these gods hold a square container resembling a modern briefcase in one hand and a pine cone-shaped object in the other, extended toward the sacred tree symbolizing life. What exactly is this briefcase? Some energy device or a toolbox we can't comprehend? What does the pine cone represent? For thousands of years, no one has given a definitive answer. Faced with these identical reliefs, two schools of scholars reached starkly different conclusions. Mainstream archaeology's interpretation is rigorous and restrained. Horned helmets are standard symbols of divinity in the ancient Near East, with more horns indicating higher divine rank. Wings symbolize the gods' transcendent power and speed over mortals. The mysterious briefcase and pine cone are interpreted as holy water vessels and sprinkling tools in religious rituals. The whole scene is a typical religious image of a king receiving divine anointing and blessing. However, when Zecharia Sitchin turned his gaze to these identical reliefs, he reached a subversive conclusion. These aren't symbols at all, but realistic depictions. In his theory, these beneficent genies are extraterrestrial Anunnaki astronauts. The wings might be an artistic expression of portable flight devices. The horned helmets, they're astronaut helmets. The mysterious briefcase could contain vital life-sustaining substances or simply be their atomic energy toolbox. Sitchin's most shocking claim comes from his translation of the word Anunnaki. He breaks it down and redefines it as Anunnaki, meaning those who from heaven to earth came, people who descended from the sky. This translation itself is like a thunderbolt, cleaving the entire field of Sumerian studies. But this key cornerstone faced the fiercest academic attacks. Mainstream Sumerian linguists point out that Sitchin's translation is completely wrong, a grammatical distortion to fit his theory. In academically recognized translations, like those from Peking University's Professor Gong Yushu, the root of Anunnaki translates to royal or noble bloodline, with the accurate meaning being descendants with royal blood, or princes of An. This debate over name translation continues to this day, making the entire puzzle even thornier. Are we misreading a complete religious symbol system, or wrongly denying a recorded true story of visitors to our planet? If the Anunnaki imagery just opened the door to the unknown, then the Sumerians' super-era knowledge system directly thrusts us into the endless abyss beyond it. These knowledges appear without an evolutionary process, more like a sudden knowledge explosion. While civilizations elsewhere in the world were still using fingers for simple counting, the Sumerians established a complex sexagesimal mathematical system. We today use 60 seconds to make a minute, 60 minutes an hour. Divide the circle into 360 degrees. These units originate from Sumer 6,000 years ago. Their clay tablets bear multiplication tables, reciprocal tables, squares, cube roots, even algebraic equations with multiple variables. The question is, why choose base 60? This number is divisible by 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15, 20, 30, 60. Extremely convenient for complex calculations. Did this optimal mathematical system come from generations of trial and error discovery? Or was it directly granted by a higher intelligence? Even more unsettling is their astronomical knowledge. The Sumerians were the first civilization to systematically observe and record stars. They identified and named most constellations, accurately tracked planetary orbits, even predicted solar and lunar eclipses. But a cylinder seal numbered VA243, housed in Berlin's Near Eastern Museum, completely shatters the bounds of ancient genius explanations. On this small seal, a massive star is surrounded by 11 spheres. Sitchin declares this can only be an exact map of our solar system. Per his reading, the spheres around the Sun are in order: Mercury, Venus, Earth and Moon, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus. Neptune, Pluto. The problem: Uranus wasn't discovered by telescope until 1781. Neptune and Pluto waited until the 19th to 20th centuries. How could a 6,000-year-old civilization know of these planets? Faced with this irrefutable visual evidence, mainstream academia strikes back fiercely. The sphere's sizes and positions on the seal don't proportion to the real solar system. In Sumerian myth, Stars often symbolize gods, not scientific planets. The seal likely depicts a mythological scene of God's assembly. On one side, the shock of images seen with one's own eyes. On the other, symbology interpretation based on culture and context. Should we trust our eyes or the expert's exegesis? When textual interpretations and archaeological evidence clash, explorers turn to genetics. Because if Sumerian civilization truly resulted from alien intervention, the most fundamental evidence must hide deep in their genes. The Sumerians called themselves black-headed people. Their language is an isolate, with no kinship to any known ancient languages around them. They appeared suddenly on the Mesopotamian plain, bringing unprecedented civilization, then mysteriously vanished. The second is the path of unknown intervention. Led by Sitchin, anomaly seekers link all odd points into a wholly different narrative. All myths as historical disguises, all symbols as realistic tech depictions. Choosing this path means questioning humanity's unique status in the cosmos. Admitting history might be more complex than imagined. But its foundation rests on controversial, even academically condemned translations. At the trace's end, we're trapped in the thought no man's land between paths. The evidence in hand is strong enough to shake entrenched cognitions, yet too weak to build irrefutable answers. This, perhaps, is Sumerian civilization's most precious legacy. Not a puzzle awaiting solution, but an eternal catalyst forcing reflection on knowledge's boundaries. It humbles us to admit science still has limits facing ancient wisdom. It reminds us, between myth and history, gray zones unexplored may exist. Were the Sumerians human geniuses gazing at stars, or chroniclers recording star visitors? This question's answer may not bury under Iraqi sands, but hide in our definitions of self, universe, possibility. Next time you gaze at the stars, ponder those black-headed people 6,000 years ago. They too, under the same night sky, perhaps calculated stellar paths with unimaginable knowledge systems. Their left questions, like a time scorpion, burrow deep into our self-proclaimed indestructible modern cognition. Sumerian civilization's true enigma may never fully unveil, but tracing this puzzle is itself a thought boundary expansion. It forces us to ponder, who are we? Where do we come from? So, facing these ancient evidences defying common reason, do you choose to believe in humanity's infinite self-potential? Or accept we might not be alone in the cosmos? Between science's rigor and open imagination, where will truth's scale tip?